I'm going to move now to former Secretary of State under former President Trump, Mike Pompeo now, and Fox News contributor as well. Great to see you today. Let's start in Pennsylvania and your top line thoughts on really what's happening there. And again, so many people, 44 million across the country, have already voted early.
Well, Harris, it's great to be with you. This is a big day. I hope everybody will get out and vote, do the right thing. They're part of democracy. I think what's going to happen in Pennsylvania is consistent with what's going to happen all across America. As people are sick and tired of what the Democrats have wrought on them, on their families. Their rent's too high, their gasoline's too expensive, they can't find baby formula, the southern border's wide open, they feel less safe. And so I think in Pennsylvania, folks are going to go out and vote for things that will make life better for them and their families. And that would be voting for Dr. Oz and Republicans up and down the ticket, from district attorneys' races to school boards. All across the country, America is sick and tired of what the Democrats have done. They haven't listened to the American people, and I think America is going to reject those ideas here by 8 o'clock tonight Eastern time in Pennsylvania.
Now, I would have to imagine that's some of your closing message. I'm looking at a list right now, and it's only a partial list of how many people you have been on the stump for recently. President Biden didn't get out nearly as much as you did. You got invited everywhere. Most recently, you were here in New York with Lee Zeldin. What did you see when you were here for the Republican in a very blue state?
Lee's going to be the next governor of New York. It makes me smile, Harris. Not because Lee's a friend and a patriot, and I love him, but because it's really good for the people of New York. They're going to have a Republican governor who cares about them, who'll protect them, keep them safe. It's going to be a great day. Lee has run a really good campaign because he has spoken to the things that matter for the people in New York. And I hear the Democrats talk about messaging. Oh, they didn't get our message. Yeah. I'm pretty convinced the voters are going to send a message to the Democrats today, which is stop this nonsense. Stop telling parents they can't take care of their kids in schools. Keep our streets safe, and America will be a better place. And I hope that Governor Zeldin is the answer when we wake up tomorrow morning. Well,
I bet he gets excited hearing you say Governor Zeldin. We, of course, will cover it as it happens. You said one word twice, and it's an important word, not just because we're in New York right now, where I am, but across the country, and particularly Democrat-led cities. You said the word safe.
Yeah. American people can feel that. When you go to a Walgreens and everything is locked up, when you tell your kid, no, I don't think you can ride the subway. Why don't you pay a little bit more and take a taxi or an Uber, or make sure you walk with 8 or 10 friends. Those things change people's lives. They change the way we live. You can't go out and do the things. And it's not just in New York. It's in big cities all across the country. It's in smaller urban areas too. The American people want to feel like the world is in control. And whether it was the 13 Americans killed in Afghanistan or the war in Europe, we didn't have those things just 2 years ago, and I think people feel less safe. You see challenges in recruiting in our military today. All of these things are manifested because the Democrat Party has walked away from the central traditions of our country, and the American people can feel it.
We are looking right now, and as you and I talk, we'll be popping up different polling stations. This is live in Madison, Wisconsin. Of course, Wisconsin is having a big Senate race, too. It's going to play a role potentially in the control of the Senate with Ron Johnson and Mandela Barnes there. Barack Obama, former president, recently going to shore up Mandela Barnes after he said some pretty explosive things about crime. So you're talking about that safety. It's certainly an issue there. So I thought I'd mention that since that live picture's on the screen. You know, I mentioned that you had your own closing argument. You weren't on the ballot, but you went to see so many different candidates and stand next to those Republicans. President Biden and Democrats are pushing their own closing argument right down to the wire. Here's a taste of theirs.
Democracy's on the ballot. Political violence and intimidation are on the rise all across America. And you remember January 6th, we faced an inflection point, one of those moments that comes around every 3 or 4 generations. We know in our bones that our democracy is at risk, and we know that this is your moment to defend it, preserve it, protect it, choose it.
Well, maybe he can feel that closing argument in his bones, but some people in his own party say that won't get it done. Watch this.
I think there was this kind of fool's gold, this idea that the threat to democracy is so severe in the wake of this insurrection, in the wake of these election deniers possibly grabbing control of the government, that was something that you had to talk about. But you also had to talk about the economy. I think the tragedy here is that the Democrats have something to say on the economy. We didn't focus enough firepower on that issue, and I think it's going to potentially cost us.
Well, but that's part of what the problem was. They actually don't have something to say on the economy. What do you say?
No, Harris, that's exactly right. What are you going to say about an economy that is driving at a 10% inflation rate, that 401ks are down, that home heating oil in the Northeast may be scarce and really expensive? It gives me no joy to watch people suffer, but it's remarkable to me to watch the Democrats now talking about messaging, when the reality is that it's about actions and deeds. It's about things that are real to the American people, and to have some fight about who said what and who prioritized something. The American people know what the priorities are. Leaders should listen to them, and they should deliver good outcomes. And the Democrats have clearly failed to do that all across the country. And so I think we're going to see governor's races, school board races. You mentioned Wisconsin. I think that governor's race is going to be closer than anybody thought. I think it's going to be a night where the American people stand up and say, these are the things that matter to us. We're prepared to go defend and fight for them, and we're going to vote those people out who made our lives less safe and less prosperous.
I've been talking to voters getting ready for election night. Tonight we'll have a live audience. It's called Voters' Voices. And what they're telling me is the school board issues really matter to them. And some of them are going to vote split ticket based on that, which is, you know, I'm in a cobalt blue state, but if they're willing to go across the aisle on that issue, that means in areas where Democrats are in trouble farther up the ticket with the issue of parents and education, they could really get bitten hard. I want to get to this. The president has railed against Republican election deniers. And we all know the Democrats have a history of this.
The president will continue to call attention to the threat to democratic integrity and to public safety posed by those who deny the documented truth about election results and those who seek to undermine public faith in our system of government.
Right-wing extremists already have a plan to literally steal the next presidential election.
This is not a speech of concession, because concession means to acknowledge an action is right, true, or proper.
Now that is rich, Secretary Pompeo, because we have plenty of video of Stacey Abrams denying the last race she was in and why she lost.
Yeah, and she's going to lose again. This sounds pretty darn desperate to me, Harris. We all know that there's a process, a legal process. This should be followed in full, and when we do, we should recognize the results of these elections. But for the Democrats to accuse Republicans of being election deniers, it sounds to me like grasping at straws when you can see that the American people are rejecting the central ideas that animate how their lives are, what's it like for their kids and their kids at school. Your point about school boards is so right. I did dozens and dozens and dozens of events all across the country over the last 12, 14 months. And you saw parents saying, Mike, I'm going to run for school board. My cousin's going to go get involved, going to go to the PTA meeting. These are just families trying to make sure their kids aren't taught garbage in the schools, and that civics recognizes the greatness of America. And I think the American people are rejecting this panicked desperation you're hearing from folks like Stacey Abrams. And then to hear former Secretary Clinton accuse the Republicans of being election deniers is, boy, that takes a lot of chutzpah. Faulkner.
I think you're being kind with the way you put that. All right.
Yes, Ms. Faulkner, I absolutely am. I'm trying to be generous. It's a good day for America.
Generosity plus accuracy. I think that's leadership. All right, Secretary Pompeo, thank you very much. It's great to have you in focus.
Harris, thank you, ma'am. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.